You don't know the power of the dark side.
Welcome to Star Wars Chatter, hosted by Andor Van Zark. Now you're listening to Power. Welcome to Star Wars Chatter, your safe space to discuss Star Wars and music. Today we're going to talk about Star Wars Andor's Chapter 6, called The Eye. But before, a word from our sponsor. Star Wars Chatter, hosted by Andor Van Zark. Now you're listening to Power. The sponsor of my stream and podcast is DistroKid. If you want 7% off on your first subscription with DistroKid, release your music to the world on every major music platform. Make sure to go to my website, andrewvanzark.com, and click on the discount link under the tab of DistroKid. This is a spoiler warning.
Well, I didn't see that coming.
If you don't like spoilers, make sure to tune out.
Please hang up and try again.
But if you know what we're talking about, make sure to leave me a message on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or tune into my next live show at twitch.tv/AndrewVanZark and leave me a message there on the chat. So let's get started and listen at your own risk. Chapter 6 of Andor starts with Cassian and the team preparing to storm the Imperial outpost. They're building their time, waiting for the Dani to show and begin their ritual before striking. The Empire looked down on them, believing they're easily distracted and not at all a threat to them. Taraming gets a radio going, communicating with Vel back at base as they don their disguises and prepare their head to the base. Interestingly, Taraming was actually a stormtrooper before joining the Resistance, which explains why he likes giving orders. His arrival, though, didn't go down too well with Cinta, especially as her whole families were slaughtered by troopers in the past. Lieutenant Gorn learns that the Danis are approaching, and the soldiers are requested to give them a warm welcome. And by warm, they watch the Danis carefully, because they are not that, cool and collected. So Gorn stays with Cassian and the others, who join the ranks and head into the base. As one will expect, Taraming has experience with this as the quartet waits, while Vel sneaks in for the water after a touch-and-go inspection from Jay Horn, the man in charge. Cinta and Vel make their move. The group sneaks in and attempts to get access to the payroll vault. But there's a problem. J-Hold can't get into it. Apparently, the only access is through a code from the air base, and it's done remotely. Vel calls out his bluff, claims that everyone will die, including his wife and son, if he doesn't play ball at this time. So the time is of the essence, and using J-Hold as hostage, they hit down and take control of the bridge and the base. However, they only have 14 minutes to get into the vault before their windows out of there is gone. Cinta stays behind with the hostages, while J-Hold is escorted with the group through to the hangar in order to grab the ship, which is obviously their ticket out there. It turns out that J-Hold was bluffing as the group gets access to the payroll. Unfortunately, they didn't count on the Empire hacking into their radio channel and infiltrating their signal. Although, in retrospective, if we think about it, that's a very obvious flaw in their plan. They should have figured out, especially using an ex-Imperial radio, that could have been a thing. So, the base is plunged into darkness to try and disorientate the Imperial soldiers, who have now figured out that all of his was a big ruse. And a big fight breaks out between the two sides, with Andor scrambling aboard the ship to try and fly out of there. TIE fighters are ready to be deployed. Taraming is downed, while the group rushed out and fly through their narrow window, stars glittering bright in the sky. However, on the way, Nemec is badly injured when some of the packages smash into his legs and crush him. Vel gives the guy a med spike to calm him down, while Skeen and Vel join Andor as he flies through safely. They've done it! They managed to make it through! While Cinta casually walks away from the base, the rest of the group manages to find a remote doctor who begins working on Nemec. While they do, Skin and Andor talk outside. The cargo they have is worth 80 million credits, and he suggests that they enact a rust together and split the money. 40 million credits-ish. As he continues on, Andor suddenly pulls a gun and shoots him dead. Unfortunately, it occurs right as Nemec dies too. As a result, Andor heads in and bargains with Vel, telling her he wants an air cut of credits and will leave with them now. Andor is rattled a little bit by Nemec wanting him to have his manifesto, but he reluctantly takes it all the same and leaves. Meanwhile, news of what happened on Aldhani spreads across Coruscant and the Empire. The two have very different reactions. While Luthen chuckles, the Imperials prepare to hit back. And hit hard. Before we continue with some more Star Wars Andor right here, right now, let's listen to the word of our sponsor. Star Wars Chatter, hosted by Andor Manzar. Now you're listening with Power.
The Force is with you, young Skywalker. But you are not a Jedi yet.
Then stop at Star Wars Chatter. If you're a Star Wars fan or like video games, comics, cartoons, manga, anime, and electronic music, Japanese rock, Japanese pop, at www.andrewansard.com and click on the radio tab to listen to the live feed or the podcast where I have my pre-recorded condensed episodes. Or if you're around Guaynabo, tune in to 91.7 FM to listen live on your car or any radio receiver. And also, check out my music on every major music platform. And tune in at twitch.tv/AndrewVanZarg to see me play video games and do my live concerts on the weekend. Trust in the Force, no light speeding, and buckle up. Now, you're listening with Power. Power to the music, and may the Force be with you. Now, diving into that Chapter 6 of Star Wars Andor's review. Let's get it running. After much build-up, we finally get a strong chapter out of Star Wars Andor. That finally gets Star Wars really strong, you know? I've said before that this is the sort of show crying out for more than one chapter a week. And I can't help but feel on a second watch through, this is going to feel much stronger as a binge watch. Yes. And with all the things considered, though, there's a lot to like with this one. Even if parts of the plan are hopelessly contrived and a little foolhardy. I'm not sure why the group didn't expect their ex-Imperial radio to be infiltrated, but that seems like an obvious thing to try and overcome. Especially the efforts they went into to act like Imperial soldiers. What's particular about this chapter, alluring about the series, though, is how the Empire aren't just portrayed as outright evil. Instead, they seem like the good guys, and the rebels seem like the bad guys, you know? So, we see men and women with dreams and goals, and the fact that Taramin was handled better than Finn was in the sequel trilogy speaks volumes about the character writing here. It's not perfect by any means, and it does have its flaws, but unlike the travesty of Obi-Wan Kenobi and many other shows around Star Wars that, sure, they were fun, they were good, but they weren't up to the level that we fans of Star Wars are expecting, even though I, Andrew Van Zark, have been enjoying Star Wars since Disney Plus and before and as always, you know? This is actually a show you can look forward to every week, indeed, you know? I think it's phenomenal the way they're portraying this and the way that they're taking it more like an adult feel to it, a more darker, a more like mafia kind of feel. That feels really nice, and I really like the idea that the rebels are not being portrayed as the heroes of the show. No, they're being portrayed as the bad guys, the ones that are doing the terrorism, the ones that are ruining everything. And if we look past in Star Wars, we have seen a Star Wars that has always given us the big moments of rebels being the heroes, the rebels save the day, the rebels this and that. They are the ones that keep it all in balance, you know, like the Jedis and whatnot, you know, and I like how they're doing it the other way around. They're making the Imperials seem like the good guys, the ones that are doing the justice, the ones that are not going to ruin everything. They're keeping everything calm and collected. But in reality, we all know that the rebels are the good guys. It's just that the way they're portraying it here it's a little different. It's a little out of the norm, if I might say, you know. So those are my thoughts on Star Wars Andor Chapter 6, The Eye. And now you know it. So let's roll that outro. And now that you were listening to Andrew Van Zark on Star Wars Chatter, your safe space to go Star Wars and music, you're now listening with power. Power to the music. May the Force be with you. This was the Star Wars Chatter, hosted by Andrew Van Zark. If you have any thoughts or any messages that you want to leave me, go check me out on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Or my website, www.andrewvansart.com. And I'll catch you on the flip side. Sayonara! When you listen to Andrew Van Zark, you listen with power. Now, you're listening with power. Andrew Van Zark. Stream on every major music platform. Power to the music.